It's a bit of an understatement to say that Nintendo has a fair few intellectual properties under its belt. They have so many recognizable characters that they could probably fill a roster for a grandiose fighting series, and then make that be the selling point. That is genius. Alright, that one's a freebie, Nintendo. The rest? That's gonna cost you. Though Nintendo isn't shy to dip in the well of its past, some games have been trapped down there, left forgotten. And with that in mind, here are 5 lesser known franchises that deserve being pulled from the depths to see the light of day once more. The Big N has done a lot of its franchises dirty. Not even this Marie Kondo bot could have minimised the mess of what would become of the later series. Even though Chibi Robo had 5 games to its name, 1 GameCube release and 2 DS titles had the core mechanics that spark joy for fans of the series, whereas Ziplash sparks only the fire I wish to throw it in. In the original GameCube debut, Chibi Robo Plug into Adventure, you take control of the titular tiny Tin Man itself. Their sole purpose in life seems to completely revolve around the acquisition of quantifiable pleasure, also known as happy points. And how do we attain these happy points, I wonder? Well, by being subservient to our human overlords. Doesn't sound exploitative, manipulative, or morally reprehensible at all.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
This domestic servitude-fueled currency can be obtained by completing chores, doing good deeds, and maintaining order within the household. As if you already had enough on your little chromium plate, you have to juggle other responsibilities too, like for instance, becoming an impromptu relationship counselor, playing diplomat with sentient rebellious kids' toys, and dealing with the infestation of evil robotic spiders that are invading the home. Chibi, I think it's time for you to form a robo-union.
Down with this sort of thing! Careful now.
Compare all that to the series' latest release, 2015 Ziplash on the 3DS, which took the original third-person action-adventure title and shifts it down a few gears into a side-scrolling platformer.
Cool.
And ever since then, Nintendo have seemed to wash their hands of the IP, as is evident in the Smash Bros. Series, by relegating our poor little Chiefs to anything but a playable character. I think Ziplash and Photo Finder were meant to gauge interest in Chibi Robo outside of Japan, but surely a re-release or remaster of the debut game could have sufficed. Hopefully when it's time for Nintendo to do some spring cleaning, Chibi Robo will be there to help. Unless they've got themselves a Roomba. As the mysterious Kawasami Castle aptly suggests, the entire franchise is somewhat of a mystery to those outside of Japan. There's been a few references as of late to the protagonist Takamaru, making appearances in the latest Super Smash Bros. Title, and he has his own origami shuriken flinging minigame dedicated to Kawasami Castle in Nintendo Land. For a game whose first release was a Japanese exclusive floppy disk add-on to the Nintendo Entertainment System, somehow its nicheness hadn't left this relic in the past. With a plot reminiscent of an Akira Kurosawa samurai epic, mixed with the Bruce Lee one-man army narrative, the game tasks Takamaru with defeating the aliens who've infiltrated the eponymous compound and force-running castles, corrupting the lords and ninjas of each domain. You know, that Akira Kurosawa classic with aliens. It's evidently clear just from looking at Kawasami Castle that the game was built upon the foundations of the first Legend of Zelda title. Other than the traditional Edo period setting, the biggest difference between the two games is the merciless difficulty level and how fast-paced it is comparatively.
Oh God, come on!
We did eventually get to see a worldwide release of the mysterious Kawasami Castle back in 2014, but I'm intrigued to see what a remake of the original game could look like. What if Kawasami Castle got the Link's Awakening treatment and incorporated the origami aesthetics from Nintendo Land? And action games set in feudal Japan seem to be selling like hotcakes as of recent, if Ghost of Tsushima, Nioh 2 and Sekiro are anything to go by.
Samurai!
Coming from out of left field, The Japanese exclusive series calciobit arrived upon European shores under the banner of Nintendo Pocket Football Club back in 2014. It's not particularly Nintendo's style to greenlight a sports management simulator, especially when it's not tethered to another successful franchise to bolster sales. However, I found myself heavily invested in the game, just watching those adorable 8-bit sprites complete their little hearts out. It's too cute! Taking my team from bottom ranks to the top of the league helped unleash my inner soccer manager mum. All I needed next was a minivan and a cooler full of Capri-Suns. My experience of Nintendo Pocket Football Club, or NPFC for short, was oddly similar to my ventures in Animal Crossing, with my unhealthy attachments to my villagers, to micromanaging the town, and feeling like I'm everybody's mum. Although I think that says more about how I play than the games themselves. Thankfully, NPFC is nowhere near as dense as Sega's Football Manager series. With Nintendo's take on the genre foregoing real teams and leagues, instead the focus is on incorporating RPG elements by way of stat boosting players through football card combinations. If Nintendo ever gave this title a sequel, I hope they go harder with the RPG elements, perhaps expanding upon the underdog rags to riches type of story. And if they were so inclined to, encroach on EA and Konami's territory and have an option to play the game like FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer. How can you compete with tiny 8-bit feet? Oh, it's so adorable! Rhythm Heaven was a unique and refreshing take on the rhythm action genre, which at the time was absolutely saturated with a slew of dance pads and other plastic peripherals, most of which you could probably catch floating along the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or on eBay. The series was a harmonious ensemble of gameplay that focused on timing and precision via audio cues, and the expansive array of animated minigames reminiscent of the wacky world of WarioWare. The Rhythm series started life as a Japanese exclusive title for the Game Boy Advance called Rhythm 10 Goku, probably because 10 Gokus are 9 too many Gokus for Western audiences to comprehend. The series had 3 other entries spanning the DS, Wii and 3DS respectively, the last of which was 2015's Rhythm Heaven Megamix, which was a curated compilation of stages from the series thus far. Side note, WarioWare also got the Megamix treatment back in 2018 with WarioWare Gold. 2011's Rhythm Heaven Fever on the Wii was our last original title for the series, and hopefully this doesn't mean that the series has gone to Rhythm Heaven just yet, or that it's stuck in development hell, or is limboing through limbo. Anyway, if Nintendo ever decides to develop and publish another Rhythm Heaven game, I'd love to see some 4-player options available.
A, B, C together.
There's a running theme with JRPGs, especially so in the 1980s. You'd be hard-pressed to find one that wasn't either high fantasy or sci-fi adjacent. Taking those well-established tropes from games like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy and merging them with the coming-of-age Americana tales popularized in films of the decade, it seems painfully obvious why the two concepts work in tandem so seamlessly, and why the Mother series was such a big hit amongst Japanese and Western audiences alike. The series was a love letter to those humble yet grandiose backyard adventures as seen on the silver screen.
I'll kill you, I swear to God.
Mother, or Earthbound as it was known in the West, saw a young kid set to solve an alien mystery in his hometown with a little help of a few friends along the way. All the while, dealing with newly acquired telekinetic powers and having road fights with passive-aggressive sentient road signs. Only 3 games have been released in the saga, and of those, only the second game saw a physical release in America. The original Mother is available to download and play, however, it's locked on the Wii U's Virtual Console. The Mother series is quite possibly one of the most sought-after revivals that Nintendo fans want. Petitions, documentaries, and translation hacks have all been made to grab the attention of the Big N for decades now, and the cult following behind the series has only grown bigger over time. As for a sequel, Mother creator Shigesato Itoi has stated that he does not wish to continue the series any further. In the meantime, those who love Earthbound have found alternative ways to play it, if Nintendo won't release it officially. And there are plenty of games that will scratch that Earthbound itch too. While new consoles come and go, the games tethered to those older platforms will stay dormant unless interest is internally and externally shown. As such, the conversation about the preservation of video games becomes ever more relevant. So, it seems counterintuitive for a company like Nintendo, who've mastered the art of selling nostalgia, to not just give the fans their old games on newer consoles if the costs of production and distribution are marginally less than compared to the profits that would be made. But they're also Nintendo, and they've honed their artistry in the scarcity of commerce. And somewhere between the two ideologies, games like Mother, Chibi Robo, and the like just lay at the wayside. Is there any Nintendo property that you would like to see return? And if so, how? As always, thank you for watching, and if you wish to see similar content, consider hitting that subscribe button down below.